Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Kraeher, Leigh Stima, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm joined by Gretta and Yvonne, and as always, the Realm of Beings. And we're very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. Thank you for joining us live. These conversations will help you to examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you're creating in your life and how it shows up. Today, we are going to continue a conversation that we started in our last podcast, talking about death and dying and all kinds of intricacies related to that illusion, apparently. So, ladies, listeners, thanks for being here. The quotation that we are going to be working with today is, "When anything or anyone dies, they go into the transitional portal to continue to learn lessons they did not complete." Oh boy, what is a transitional portal?
Why? My first question is, why did we pick this quote? Gretta.
So, please explain.
We have to talk about what a transitional portal is.
I think
that was my first question. Yes, I'm sure that's an unfamiliar term to most.
Start at the very beginning.
It's about, it's another reality. It's not an extension of this reality that you're in. It's a new beginning. Because what happens when we came here into this reality, we decided, well, we didn't really decide. We came with our lessons. We decide the how, and we've talked about that before in the podcast, somewhere along the line.
Right.
So what happens during that time when you were creating what your body was going to be look like, when you were learning, choosing your parents, so you could choose your DNA, you could choose your genetics, epigenetics, that whole thing. You chose if you wanted to be a person who was going to be heavy or skinny, whatever. So you created your body, and you're still in the process of creating your body now. All the time you're creating your body. So back then, and I shouldn't even let me not use the word back, because that's really going to confuse people. Because everything, there is no back. There is no forward, there only is. And that's it. So in that isness, you are deciding when you are going to make your transition or when you are going to die. That is your decision. That is part of your how. Everybody decides. It does not matter what it looks like. Just know that that's the time that that person has chosen to exit this reality. And not only do you choose when, the when comes before you even come into conception. The how comes in after you're here, because you choose the how. it's like we have a class that we teach and we call it death by design, because you actually design your own death. Some of the deaths look easier than others. Myself personally, I've said when I get ready to make my transition, I'm going to do it by way of sleeping. Some people decided all kinds of ways. They want to go by way of somebody shooting them. They want to go by way of committing suicide. They want to go by way of creating a disease, so they go that way. So in those choices are also lessons, okay? So the transitional portal is what some people call heaven. I'm going to heaven, or I'm going into the rapture, or I'm going into nirvana. It has different names.
Can it be hell too?
Yeah, what about purgatory?
You know, that's interesting. I'm laughing because if you want to be in hell, yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been told this whole time that there's two places they can send you. So, I mean, like if that's your belief system, I guess, can you make that, transitional portal like, fire and brimstone-y, so to speak?
Yeah, you can, because you're creating your reality at all times. You never stop. So if you believe in the concept of hell and you believe that you've led a terrible life and you need to be punished, then when you go to the transitional portal and you do your review, after your review, you've created to go to hell. So you'll be there. You actually create that space, because the creation of reality never stops.
Right.
So when you're sitting in a transitional portal, you are creating the portal that you want to go into. And you are creating the portal where you want to begin relearning the lessons that you did not learn yet. We can start a lesson, but we don't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can go into a loop, like looping is a lesson. We're going into a loop. We're doing the same old thing over and over and over and over and over again. So when we get to the transitional portal, more than likely, we're going to work on doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again until we learn that we don't need to do that. And why did we do that? Remember those two questions, why and how. Those questions are so, so important. So transitional portal is another reality which you create again. And I've escorted people to their transitional portals, and I've also taken them, or I've gone to look and check on them to see. Like one lady, she was Puerto Rican, and she made her exit by way of cancer. So when I went to make sure she was all right, she was in the portal already. And she was standing on her street, because in the work I do, one of the things is that I have to go to where you are. So I'm familiar of, what the street looks like, but it looked a little different. It was strange looking to me. And that's when I said, oh, okay, she's in her transitional portal, but she was standing outside. Now, one of the people that I'm learning, I know she won't mind me. In fact, I know she's listening this morning. Is a facilitator that she's learning how to do the same work I do. Her husband made his transition. Okay. So we went to see, she said, can you check for me, see that he's okay? I said, sure. So I went and I told her, I said, oh, he's in your house. I said, but she had her kitchen remodeled. So I knew she had a new kitchen. But in this, where I was, the house was looking with the same kitchen it had before. And he looked a little bit thinner. And not only that, but this is what is so interesting. She was right there with him. And I told her, I said, there's a dog here. And she said, really? I said, yes, it's a small dog. And she said, what do the ears look like? Are the ears sticking up or are they flopping down? I said, the ears are sticking up. And she said, well, you know, that is when he and I were in that house in the 1980s. She didn't give me, we didn't know what particular day or what particular year, if it was 1982, 1983, we didn't know that. I wasn't picking up on that. But she knew that it was in the 1980s because that dog became significant. The dog was alive at that time. When I met her and actually went physically into her house, she had a different dog. She had the dog that had floppy ears, but this was the dog that had the ears standing straight up. So what we learned from that is that definitely you create your own reality. His transitional portal, he's starting with his house. He created his house, he created standing in the kitchen, and he created his wife as well, and the dog. There you go. That's why we've always been saying, don't be sad because death is not real.
Mm.
Now, to him in that transitional portal, he doesn't recognize it's a transitional portal. He doesn't recognize that he died.
How do you know? How do you know where you are ever?
Because that's where you can only be where you put yourself. So he put himself back in his house. Jorge Hina put herself standing so I could see her in the middle of her street. My friend.
Do you go back, Greta? Do you go back and check on these people every so often? Or once they're in their portal, you just say, have a nice time there?
They're going for it because probably later on down the line, he might even create me to be there.
Yeah.
See, you don't know because where I'm at right now, I really feel that we're in a transitional portal right now. You just don't remember it. See, when you make your transition, they always say, you hear people writing in books, go to the light.
Go to the light.
Yeah, go to the light. You know, on that program, The Whisperer, she was forever sending people to the light. So you see this big, beautiful beam of white light. And so head on down that road. Or you hear of people having near-death experiences, quote unquote, near-death experiences, which they created, note, that they said, I saw a big beam of white light. So if you believe in that, you're going to see a big beam of white light. But most of the time, like some people, when they make their transition, sometimes they feel lost. And you can usually find them where they died if they didn't go to the transitional portal right away. You know, so then we guide them, we say, okay, come on. Sometimes I even take them by the hand and say, come on, it's time for you to go to the transitional portal. And what's the first thing that I've created to see it as being is where you review your life. You review, what is it that I've learned? What did I not learn? Because that's all it is. What did I learn? What did I not learn?
Is that what they call purgatory, do you think? Is that what
No.
What's purgatory? Sorry to interrupt you, but that's like been a question.
That's just another illusion that people created to give you the feeling of having a chance. In other words, you weren't quite the angel, quote unquote angel that you wanted to be so you could get in heaven, but you still have a chance. We're not going to send you to hell yet. So we're going to just send you to this other place, purgatory.
You still better be a good girl. Otherwise you might go to hell.
You'll slip right down. Slip right down. There you go.
Made up.
And then the devil will be there waiting for you. Right. However you create the devil to look like. Which, by the way, everybody on this podcast, the devil does not exist. Okay.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's a relief.
Yeah.
Well, because you create him, right? Like if that is like so entrenched in your belief system.
Yeah, that's suffering and all that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you can
Punishment. Yeah,
go
because
to-
it's like it's all part of like the fear
Right, that-
mongering that goes on, fear, the control. If you don't do this, then that. And that's so anti-unconditional love. Like, you know, it's just
anti-unconditional love.
Right. It's like let me punish myself. Let
yeah.
me,
Okay,
let
I
me
have a
punish
question.
myself. Yeah, go ahead.
I am having a challenging enough time right here knowing what's going on deeper inside myself. So if you go into a transitional portal, is someone there to help you sort it out, what you did and did not know, learn?
Yes, I could use some help
Do we
there
have a
too.
wayfinder to like?
You'd have to create that individual. You'd have to create
Okay.
that individual. Yeah. Because see, creation of reality does not stop.
Mhm.
You're going to continue creating your reality. And it goes on and on and on, you know. So you create what the transitional portal is going to look like. You create that. And why do you create it? You create it so it fits what you need to experience for your growth, which simultaneously is the growth of the force.
Mhm.
So that is what we're doing. We're actually, people always ask, what is my purpose? It's your purpose is to experience. Your purpose is to, that's all it is just to experience this reality that you have created yourself to be in. And what does that do? Because, you know, on this podcast, we tell people you are the force. So therefore, the force is what the realm has taught me, experiential evolution. The force is going through, is experiencing itself within itself. Notice I didn't say it's experiencing itself outside of itself. I'm saying the force is experiencing itself within itself. Yeah. I see you all that they're taking, ladies and gentlemen who cannot see this podcast. I want you to know that Leigh and Yvonne are taking deep breaths after that statement.
I'm taking a pause to formulate my next question. You know,
Okay.
we are the force, so, and if nothing is external to us, so yes, I guess that statement has some clarity in it.
Right, because we know we're always saying, you know, when I first teach the transitional portal, because we go through more than one, because what is the end result? Let me say the end result, and then I'll work up to how we get to the end result. The
Hey,
end
Greta.
huh?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you know,
It's a
we've
time.
been getting this little message in our chat box that they want us to take a break. So rather than diving in too deep at this point, would you mind putting a little pause on this transition? Like let's
Yeah, I don't
transition to the
mind. I don't
break,
mind. Yeah,
and
of
then we'll
course.
transition back out into the next segment. So
Okay.
ladies, listeners, if you wouldn't mind staying with us for a few more minutes while we get through the break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, ladies. Greta, Leigh. I'm Yvonne, and we are on Transformation Talk Radio. The name of our podcast is Conversations, Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. And we are in a very lively discussion, deep for sure, taking apart the quotation, when anything or anyone dies, they go to the transitional portal to continue to learn lessons that they did not complete. And Greta was just about to take us on a journey through one transition to another. But before that, I would like to just let the listeners know, if you have questions, please feel free to dial in at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819. So Greta, here we go. We're on segment 2, and Leigh and I have been just sitting here in awe. At least for me, I'm in awe, trying to wrap my head around the transitional portal, as I'm sure our listeners also would really appreciate knowing a little bit more. This is a concept that religion doesn't, we're trained in religion and immersed in that culture when we're growing up. And personally, I have never heard the term transitional portal until I started getting to know you, Greta. So yeah, just give us some further information. I'm really curious what happens, since you said we don't stay in the transitional portal, we go to another one. Is that right?
Yeah. Because see, the whole idea is, let's go back, and I'm using that, let me put back in quotes, because everybody should know by now there is no back. But to make life a little bit easier for you to understand, I think we're going back to when you were an energy essence. When you were an energy essence, you recognized and you knew that you were the force. You knew that, okay? You knew that there was no separation between you and the force. It's like my hand. I think last week I showed my hand. Don't anybody start reading my lines now. Those people that are into palm reading. But my fingers are all there. They're still part of my hand. They're not separate from my hand. You see what I'm saying? So we're extensions, but we're not, and we're not even parts of it, really. The part alludes to separation, so I don't want to give you the feeling of that. So we understand at the energy essence level that we, and I'm using level tentatively as well, that we are the force. But we want to experience ourselves, because that's what this is all about. The force is experiencing itself. So it knows already the lessons that it wants to experience. In some books and lectures and things like that, they'll tell you that you decide your lessons. Well, in the sense, yes, you do. They're accurate. But the part that's missing out of that is the reason why you are choosing your lessons or that you want to experience is because you are the force, and that's what this is all about. This is all about the experiential evolution of the force, of which we are it. That's why our lessons are continuous and never stop, because the force is continuously creating reality, continuously experiencing itself. It doesn't understand stopping and not moving. It doesn't say, I'm not going to, okay, today I'm not going to create reality at all. Boom. If it ever said that, everything that you're looking at now would no longer exist. It only exists because you as the force have created it. So the transitional portal, you've given yourself lessons. In the incarnate stage, you choose your parents, your birth parents. Some people choose two sets of parents. They'll choose a birth parents to come in with the physicality that they want to experience. And then they choose another set of parents by getting adopted.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because now I've got the physical makeup, but now I want the psychological and emotional makeup is going to be different than what I'm experiencing, than what I would experience with this first set with my birth parents. I'm moving on to these people. And these people could be, I'm moving on to a family where the father is female and the mother is female, or the father is male and the mother is male, or the father is male and the mother is female. See, there's so many structures of families, or I'm moving only with one parent, a father, or I'm only moving with one parent, my grandmother. You know, you choose, you're continually choosing now, okay? So those are the lessons come from the force, because you are the force, you know the lessons. Now, you get here in the incarnate stage, how do I want to learn the lessons? So then since you've chosen your parents and whatever, you can decide, okay, I want to be born here. I'm going through this. I'm going to be humanoid. I'm going through this humanoid experience. I'm going to pop out and yeah, here I am. Look at me, world. You know, here I am. Okay. So as you're going through this life experience that you have chosen and that you have created for yourself, you decide, it's time for me to exit. I only gave myself 82 years. I only gave myself 3 months. I only gave myself 104 years to do this in. But okay, it's time. Now, since it's time, how am I going to do this? How? I got to choose the how. So everybody chooses how they want to exit. Some people will choose an exit that, like maybe they want to go through the experience of being murdered. But how did they create that? They created that because they were fearful of perhaps being murdered, or perhaps someone killing them like that. So then that was a lesson into itself, and the actual process, they created it. Okay?
How about cancer, Greta? I mean,
it's just another lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Any physical ailment that you create for, notice I'm saying create. You don't just get cancer, you create it. You don't get Parkinson's disease, you create it. You don't get lupus, you create it. You get a healthy body, you're healthy all the way through. That's because you created that. You didn't create to have an illness as one of your lessons, or to teach you the how. Because cancer is a sign of holding on to little hurts. You know, you stockpile, you got hurt when you were a kid and you're building them on because you didn't like what your mama did to you, or you felt your mama hurt you, your daddy hurt you, or somebody. So you keep piling it on, and then you get married to somebody who's a replication of the parents that you left that were hurting you. So therefore you get hurt again. And what do? You keep piling it up, until the unconscious says, oh, okay, we want you, what the body wants to show you that you are piling up little hurts. So now we're going to initiate for you, based on your creation of reality, a cancer experience.
Mm.
That's how you do it. So notice I said that's how you do it, because you do create it yourself.
And yeah, and some people say they're cured at some point of cancer, and then it shows back up again. So
that's right, because
they're not really cured of the little
absolutely hurts. They did not deal with the reasons why they attracted it to themselves in the first place.
I think a lot of people would disagree with you. I am in a family of medical people, and that is totally, they would be like, you're crazy. I'm sorry. They would be like,
they would, because I wouldn't expect anything different, especially unless you are a person, you are a medical person that understands creation of reality.
Right.
If you don't understand creation of reality, anything that I'm saying, you do not get it. You will not get it. And you will keep the blinders on your eyes so that you don't get it. So you're creating not to get it.
If you don't get it, that's okay.
That's right.
It is okay.
That's right.
I think sometimes people aren't ready. You know, it feels to me like, maybe it's safer to have the blinders on, or those are the lessons that whoever needs to know and learn.
Well, see,
That's their journey.
That's why we have transitional portals.
Back to the, let's get back to the transitional portal.
The transitional portal gives you an opportunity. So maybe you don't understand that you create your own reality. You go through this whole life experience here, you transition out at 75, and then here you are looking at another transitional portal you're going into. So you will create the transitional portal. Where do you want to begin? Some people go and begin when they were children. Like I had one woman, she lived in, oh my goodness, New Zealand. And when I went to check on her, she was standing outside of a house, and it was her house when she was a child. So that showed me that she's decided that she's going to deal with the lessons there at childhood because she didn't learn them. Whatever lessons that were there for her, she didn't learn. So she's decided, I'm going to deal with it there. Now, the other thing is that when you move to the transitional portal, you don't remember that you died. You don't remember that. Most people don't. Like, I'm not going to say that there's nobody, okay? But there are people that don't know that. So you will think, like the gentleman who's in the house who created his wife. See, she understands. So it was interesting for her when I told her he has recreated you in his life. And here she was back in this reality, which is the reality of him being in that transitional portal is going on at the same time. So her image is there. He is interacting with her. So in that space, he doesn't even remember that he died and left her here. And that, because he doesn't see that. He only sees and knows that this is his wife and he created her. So he wants to be at that age learning lessons that he has not completed. So when I always have to see people sitting in a chair, but that's my creation of reality of when you come in, and I always see people, because I've been there, so I know I've created it, sitting in a chair, listening to or reviewing your life. So while you're sitting at that point, it's like you're back at the incarnation stage again. It's like that. And then you decide, okay, this is what this is what I want to learn. I didn't learn this. I didn't learn how to love myself. So now I want to go back and not back, but in this new transitional portal, I am going to learn one of the lessons is for me to learn to love myself. You see, or it might be in this time around, I'm going to learn more about creation of reality, you see. So you decide a whole new set, and you won't ever think that you were never a child, because you will create having parents. You won't create having the birth process, because he didn't need that. He needed to start exactly where he was, back in his house, 1980s, with a dog with the ears up instead of the ears down, and with his wife. There you go.
Oh my gosh, it's like Groundhog Day. The day just keeps like repeating and repeating. And if you don't remember you dead, or you died, or you transitioned, how do you remember what you didn't learn?
You know it. See, you know it at that space. Okay, we make the transition. Okay, I'm trying to think of what I'll do. We're making the transition. I'm going to do it this way, but it's going to look like separation. Okay, because it's the easiest way for people to understand. Okay, over here is where I'm Greta. I'm doing everything what I want to do and whatever. Now I make my transition. There's a space think of it as a space. Just for right now, think of it as a space between me over here and me over going into this.
Okay.
So I go in, I sit down in my little chair, and I say, oh, Greta, you didn't learn this, and you didn't learn that, and you didn't learn this. I said, well, that's what I got to still learn. Because the idea is you keep going until you've learned the lessons. And the biggest lesson, which might be over here. Now, this is not literal, everybody. I'm just showing so you can get an idea. But, so then you go and you say, doggone it, I am the force. And I've created all of these experiences for myself. Then that's it. So it's like you start off knowing you're the force. You lose the idea, concepts of it, and you're going around, going from transitional portal to transitional portal. Some people, it can take 5 transitional portals to realize that they are the force. Some people, it may take them 252 portals before they realize it. But the end result is that you realize that you are the force and you've been the force all along. That is the end. One of the ladies I was teaching, she said, well, what do you do when you get there? I said, you can do anything you want to do when you get there. It's up to you. You're the force. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. You can do anything. Nothing is impossible. That's why nothing in reality is impossible. Nothing.
You think people that are in portals that are closer to remembering and recognizing they're in the force, they are the force, that things seem a little easier? Would that make sense?
No, of course not. Of course, it's not going to be easier unless you create it to be easy. And then get this, Yvonne, what you think is easy is not necessarily what I think is easy.
That's true.
So what is it going to be easy for you? What is it going to be easy for me? What is it going to be? What does easy mean to Leigh? You see, what does easy mean to Jacob? You see, everybody's different. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the loving unconditionally.
Yeah, different but the same, though. If we're all the force, we're all the same.
Absolutely. But we don't see ourselves as that. You know, if we see ourselves, just when people look at us, they see us differently.
Mm-hmm.
You see, they see you with brunette hair, Leigh with blonde hair, and me with some kind of hair. They don't know what it is. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. What is true for you? Everybody's different. That's why we want to accept. See, that's part of oneness. And that's why I say people have not gotten there. Humanoids have not gotten. There are some species that understand that quite well. Humanoids just aren't the ones that do. You know, because we have a long ways to go yet.
Yeah, I think so. With all the wars and all the suffering and all the disharmony, all the separation that you see on the news or recognize, I guess.
Which are all illusions.
I know, but they still exist in the illusionary world here. That
they exist in our minds. Our minds are where.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, ladies. This is pretty intense, but wish we could keep going on this because I feel like we're making progress. However, in this reality, we're on a limited time. We're on a little bit of a time constraint, which means we are coming close to we are at our second break. We're a little bit past it, actually. So stay with us. If you want to take this number down quickly, 1-800-930-2819. And when we come back, we have a really nice treat. We'll be with the realm themselves and see what they have to offer us on this lively discussion about death. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, thank you for staying with us. This is Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We've reached the part in the podcast where the Realm of Beings gets to directly weigh in on what we've been chatting about this last 45 minutes. So let's not hesitate. Realm, are you present?
Yes, we're
Hello.
here.
So we have been talking about the quotation, when anything or anyone dies, they go to the transitional portal to continue to learn lessons that they did not complete. And before you maybe weigh in, like what exactly, like what is the ultimate purpose of the transitional portal?
Well, you ladies were talking about it earlier, and it's all about the force. The force experiencing itself, of which all of us, including us as the realm, are it. So it's just for experience. You don't want to be bored. Who wants to sit around and be bored? So the force doesn't want to sit around and be bored. You know, it's always in a state of thinking, always in a state of creation of reality, because it's always desirous of further understanding itself. You see, while you are dealing with understanding you, the force is dealing with understanding itself, but at a different level of understanding itself than where you at trying to understand yourself. It's like you go to psychologists, psychiatrists, you go all these places to help you learn about yourself so that you can further understand self. The force is creating its realities because it enjoys the adventure. Because see, if you're laying in the hospital with COVID-19, as you call it, the force is there with you because you are the force. Don't think that, see, when you think God, you say God. Let's go back to the concept of God. You say God is at a higher level of understanding than you are. So therefore, you separate yourself from God. And if you're laying in the hospital with some kind of ailment that's painful to you, you say, God, help me. Help me, God. You don't realize you're talking to yourself. You're talking to yourself. So you're giving yourself an experience to further understand self. The transitional portals that you were talking about this morning are all about understanding self. Each one that you transition to does that for you. It assists you in understanding more and more and more about self, as it is the experience of the force learning more and more and more of itself. Somebody was going to ask me a question.
So are all of these illusions transitional portals? I mean, how do we know if we're in a transitional portal or like a life experience if we never die? What is the delineation point?
Mm.
You're believing in a delineation point because you believe in separation. You believe that life must die and then it has to start again. No. Think of it as continuous. Think of it as overlapping. You spoke of it in terms of when Greta showed the example, it was to go to separation for the explanation of that so you could begin to understand it. But the thing is that everything is happening simultaneously. Everything is overlapping itself. There is no discontinuity and then a continuation. Everything is happening simultaneously. everything. It's more of, it's not even an overlay. Because if you think of overlay, you would think of this and then this overlaying it. No, it's more of oneness. It's everything together. That's why to hate somebody is really a waste of time and energy, because the only one you're hating is yourself. Yes. To criticize somebody, the only person you're criticizing is you're criticizing yourself. Yes.
So I was thinking last night about these lateralities that sometimes Greta talks about and sometimes you talk about through Greta. So when Greta makes her diagram, she just draws on a 2D piece of paper some grid lines. But when I was thinking about it in more of a 3D way, are these lateralities something akin to more like a spider web? Like all of those boxes are like all of those segments of the web like lead to the center point, but they're all connected. They're all part of one web.
That would be another way of you understanding it. You're just changing the boxes into a web.
Right. But I mean, when you look at that spider web, it isn't, I mean, there are little rungs of separation, but it's all one unit.
Spider web, right. Let's take it a little bit deeper. The box will do the boxes in the spider web. Think of the boxes. Think of the grid. Think of 30 boxes, all the same size, all connected together, sharing sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a grid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so you see a grid you see about 30 boxes in the grid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take that grid and watch it melt into each other until the only thing you see is one box. That is really what is happening. I'll say it again. Take all of the boxes that are there, the 30, we're using 30 just as a choice. I could use 100 boxes. I could use 1 million boxes. In fact, let me use 1 million boxes. Those boxes then will begin to merge and merge and merge and merge until you only see one box.
And then that's when you get back to being the force. Like that's when you finally realize.
That's when you begin to understand oneness.
Mm.
Now let's take the spider web that you created. Let's melt all of the rectangles or whatever those shapes are they create with those spider webs and melt it down and move it together until you only see one little rectangle. You only see one. And everything that was in all of those places of the spider web, because now they're oneness, they're all happening at the same time. There is no separation. That's why there is no past life. There is no future life. There's only the isness of something. And you only see one rectangle for the spider web example. Or you only see one box as the grid example. Everything is happening simultaneously. Everything, the probabilities are existing, and probabilities are realities that you have not created to be actualized in this reality. They're just in another reality. So what we'd like you to get to understand is possibility of, for you to stop thinking in terms of time, past and present and future. Stop thinking about it in terms of that linear movement and start thinking about it in terms of realities. That will help you even better to understand that there are many realities there. So if you want to go to a closet and you want to, you're going to a wedding and you have about 5 different colors of dresses or 5 different colors of ties and suits that you want to wear and shirts. Once you choose what you want, that is moving it into another reality. You're in another reality now. That's all you're doing. You're moving from reality to reality, to reality to reality. That's all you're doing. So transitional portals are moving from one reality to another reality, but think of all the transitional portals as one.
Okay, Realm, we're getting ready to wrap it up. Do you have 10 seconds of final thoughts for our listeners today?
Fear death no longer.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Gretta and Yvonne, for being here today. Thank you, everyone who has been listening to another podcast of Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings until we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on transformationtalkradio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, the Realm, and me, Gretta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at transformationtalkradio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.